Hi everyone, this is a test between my new Hornady Lock and Load Auto Charge, the Hornady GS500 or 1500 electronic scale, which is this little unit, and my 40-year-old RCBS beam scales. So, like most people, I started off using beam scales. Then for portability, I went to this little scale, which did quite well. And of course, to get fine increments of powder, you use a trickler, such as this one. I think this is, again, RCBS. And then, because I do a lot of load development, I convinced myself that I should go for the Auto Charge. I didn't find it to be fast. In fact, I think it may have been slower than the other methods, hence this test. The benefit of using the auto load is that once you get your powder charge, you put it straight into the case, put the dish back on the auto load, it starts to measure out new powder, and while that's happening, you seat the bullet. So what I'm going to do in this test is go through my usual routine. So with the auto load, I will load each case individually. When the powder is being replenished, I will then put the bullet in and seat it, or pretend to, as these aren't development loads. I'll go through the same motions, but I'm not actually going to use a die. With the others, the scale and the beam scale, what I typically do is load all of the cases and then seat the bullets in one session. I won't be able to film this because the electronic devices are sensitive to interference. I'm filming this on my camera, on my phone, and I shouldn't have a phone in the vicinity, and also my fluorescent light can also be a source of interference. So I'll turn off the light and I will turn off the phone, and I'll do the measurements, and also I will time them. I'll load 10 rounds of each. These are 223 cases. I'll be using ADI AR 2206H, which is a rod type powder. Each little granule is about 1.6 millimeters long. We'll start the first dispense with 22.5 grains of 2206. I guess it helps if you zero it first. Yeah, first load, it's over, but it is the first load, so I'll put that back. And I've also got the camera and the fluorescent lights on, but let's see what happens. Over again. Now this is at normal speed. Let's try it again. Over again. So look, first three, 100% over. I think what I'll have to do is put this back onto slow. I will turn off the camera, turn off the light, and do this and time it, and get back to you with the results. Okay, just to show you my technique on getting the right powder charge. This is again, I think, an RCBS thrower. So I've got it set to throw about 22.23 grains. It does that consistently to plus or minus 0.2 of a grain. So I simply put the powder in the tray, put the tray on the scale, and then with the trickler, trickle the powder in until I get the 22.5, and that's the same technique I'll of course use with the beam scale as well, so nothing particularly remark about what I'm doing. So now I'm just weighing the powder charge that were actually dispensed using the beam scale as the standard. What I'm finding is that the electronic scales are dispensing pretty consistently 0.2 of a grain below what the beam scale shows. I'm happy with calling that 22.1. So these are the results of the tests. The Hornady Auto Charge on slow speed took 7 minutes 19 to fill the 10 cases. The spread of the weight, 0.3 grain variance. There was one overcharge. With the overcharge, I just tipped it back and it measured out another charge. The Hornady G2 1500 scale and using the RCBS trickler. The method there was I threw about 22.3 grains with the RCBS Uniflow powder charger and then trickled the additional powder in to get it up to 22.5. That took me 6 minutes 7 seconds, and that's filling each of the 10 cases, then taking each of the cases across to the press with the bullet and going through the motions of seating the bullet, with the timing finished when the last of the 10 cases had their bullets seated. The spread of weights was 0.2 of a grain, and I had 3 overcharges, but with these ones, because it wasn't automated, I was able to take a few grains of powder out and then just trickle some more powder in. With the RCBS beam scale, I used the same method as I did with the Hornady G2 scales. The time it took to do the 10 cases was 5 minutes and 46 seconds. The spread of weight, I didn't go back and remeasure because the pointer's on the beam with the frame. There was no point me emptying the cases back out into the pans and measuring it against the same device. Typically, if you're careful, you could get within 0.1 of a grain, or even 0.2 if you're a little less careful. Okay, given that the auto charge has a 0.3 of a grain variation, the G2 scale, if I'm careful, has about a 0.2 variation. I thought I would test the RCBS Uniflow dispenser. So the first test that I did, I threw 14 charges and measured those with the beam scale, and the variation was 0.3 of a grain. Then went and did another test and used the G2 scale. There were 20 throws. Again, the range was just 0.3. So, what's my conclusion from today's testing? Firstly, based on the requirement that a new device, especially a relatively expensive one, must be better than what you have to justify its purchase. For the auto charge to be worthwhile, it should be either faster or more accurate than what I already have, and preferably both. On normal speed, if it works, it is faster than using the trickler with the G2 scale, but not more accurate. It is also faster than the beam scale, but less accurate. With the 0.3 spread, with both the RCBS and the auto charge, the RCBS Uniflow is much faster, and I'll demonstrate